Welcome to another taster episode from the Rural Juror Brewery Tour. I'm Seth. Today we're going to explore the history of brewing in London, Ontario. London, Ontario. A city not usually on the radar of most Canadians, but for beer drinkers, it should be. Today, we're home to countless craft breweries, and we're proud to say we're the hometown brewery for Labatt. But that's just a bit of the history. Let's take a look. As far back as recorded breweries goes, the first one was in 1827 by John Diamond. His brewery was located on the north side of North Street. Try to say that 3 times fast. The brewery was sold to William and George Snell 1 year later. We will want to remember George Snell's name. He's going to come back in a second. In 1828, only a year later, John Balquill opened London Brewing. Now, this is not to be confused with London Brewing of today. I believe they have nothing in common. London Brewing was opened in a small building on Simcoe Street by the Thames River. They made about 400 barrels of beer a year, but most of it was sold through his pub. How much is a barrel of beer? Well, 1 barrel is about 14 cases of today's beer. In 1845, there was the Great Fire in London, and the brewery was reduced to ashes. He rebuilt and increased his capacity to 2,500 barrels. He and his brother-in-law, George Snell, see, here he is again, they later sold it to Samuel Eccles in about 1847. You'll also want to remember Samuel Eccles' name. He comes back. In 1840, one of the most famous brewing companies to ever come out of Canada, Thomas Carling. He started a small brewing company selling mostly to soldiers. The demand for his near-perfect ale was so great he actually stopped farming and brewed full-time. His sons William and John built a 6-story brewery in London later. Originally located on the corner of Waterloo and Pall Mall, and then later, once it burned, they relocated closer to the Thames. The building faced onto Ann Street and backed onto Piccadilly. In 1852, Carling Lager was first sold in the United Kingdom, and in the early 1980s, it became the UK's most popular beer brand by volume sold. That's incredible. Carling has changed hands many times over the years. First, it became part of the Canadian breweries, when it became Carling O'Keefe, then Molson and Coors, and later by Anheuser-Busch InBev. And then we come to Labatt's. Originally started as a partnership with Eccles, if you can remember him from before. They started as Labatt and Eccles in 1846. And by 1855, John Labatt had bought out Eccles and changed the name from London Brewery to John Labatt Brewery. After his death, it was taken over by his son John, and built into one of the largest breweries in Canada and known internationally. Today's brewery sits on the exact same location as it did in 1846. To see a full history of Labatt's, check on the link below. As this episode airs, London is now home to countless breweries. Anderson Ales, Forked River, Stormstade, Curly, London Brewing, Beer Lab, Powerhouse, Toboggan, the list goes on and on. Make sure you check them out. They all have great beers, and they're all doing excellent stuff for our community. Thanks so much for watching. We hope this was informative. See you next time.